I've made another plugin. Let's go through the code and logic behind it. So we have class window, which when we post it on the internet, we will change it to Docker. So this stuff is not really important. What's important is Q vertical box layout. Vertical box layout allows us to stack widgets vertically so that our button and then goes our label and then goes our SVG widget and then goes our group box and so on and so forth. So we create this layout and then we create button and add this button to our layout. The same goes for label. We initialize it with the name that will be inside of label. And then we also add it to the layout. We use SVG widget to load and preview what our speech bubble will look like. And then we create group box, this one, in order to store information about how will bubble look like. Will it be a square bubble or it will be a round bubble? So we create group box, we set up the title, which we see here, and then we create horizontal box layout so that we can stack our widgets horizontally and then add it to the main layout. So first we create square radio button. We set up the name and then we add it to our group box. And this code is for this one button. And the same goes for round one, and by default it's true. And then we create button, which is important to use to change the color of the inside of our bubble. So how it works, we create a variable where we store the color, and then we create a pixmap in order to create an icon, which we will then load into our button. And we set up the width the same as the height, so it will be the square. It allows us more visually show what color is being used. And then we add it to the layout, and then we add this box, group box, to our main layout. Now outline. Outline is the line around our bubble. So we create another group box, we call it outline. We have another horizontal box layout, and we have slider, which is this, and then we have spin box, which is this. I could have show what value is stored in slider via label, but I opt in to use Pinbox because I need to set up a maximum for the slider. And I cannot predict what maximum will be comfortable for the user. So in case they don't like that it's 10 and they would like to get a bigger, thicker outline, I am not setting up the maximum value in Spinbox, and you can go beyond 10 via using Spinbox. So that's how I solve this problem. So we create Spinbox, and then we set up our minimum, and then we set up our value by default, and then we add it to our horizontal box layout. And then there's a code for another color button, but now for the outline. So we covered around the speech box, we covered the inside of speech box, and now we're gonna talk about the speech. So we create another group box called speech, where we're gonna have four rows of widgets. The first row is gonna be about the font. So we create a font row, which is gonna be another HBox layout. And we create then Q font combo box, which is actually very great because it's very great that Qt has a combo box that will show what fonts is being installed in system, because trying to recreate your own solution would cost a lot of time and it's not going to be easy than to load it into your own combo box, and it has this uh, very it has preview, which is very great. So we create QFont combo box, add it to the font row layout, and then we for font size, we use just a regular spin box, and by default I put it to 14. I think it's a default value in a lot of text-based software. And then another color button, but now for the text. And then we add this row to the speech group box layout. Then we create QTextEdit widget, so that this is where we're gonna store our speech. And then we have another row for checkbox. So it's for in case you don't like how the plugin automatically centered the text, you can do it manually. And by default, if it's 0, you can just use enters, or you can change the average line length so that you have more options. So this is for this one, checkbox, and then we create another group box where it's just, slider and spin box. We already covered that. This is for this. Then we add everything to speech group and add speech group to the main layout. Now, tail size. So tail is, let me show you. tail is tail needed for the speech bubble to be connected to the person who is being who is talking the said speech bubble. So another slider and spin box. And I was thinking, so we have tail size and we have tail positions for different orientation for different direction for tail to go. And first I was thinking maybe I should use slider, but then I thought that it's going to be two sliders that both are somehow changing a value connected to the tail, and I thought it would be confusing, so I decided to use a glue box of radio buttons instead. So how we go about tail position? We create another group box, we set up the title, we create another horizontal box layout, and then we create a list of tail positions, and then we append to that list few radio button. Then we set up the number. Then we connect a signal to the slot. I'm not confusing the terms. And then we add to the layout radio button. And then we set up layout, disable it, and add to main layout. So we set up our basically the whole user interface. After that, we call up our first time the function that's updating the preview, that's looking through our values that we set up by default. And we'll look into that function a little bit later. Then we have this section. This is where I connect all the signals and all the slots. So it goes again from top to bottom. And first one is connecting the button to the function that will add our speech bubble to the page. Then a lot of connections just for any click to be responsive to the preview so that it will update. Then we also have a function. Should I go to it right now? Yeah, I guess I should. So when we change the color, we click on the button and we call this function. What we do is we call QColor dialog, and we get the color that we choose here. So we chose the color, we clicked OK, and then we create a new pix map. We fill it with the color we selected, and then we create an icon, and then we update the icon of the button, and then we call update preview. So in update preview, we would use this value. to fill our bubble with gray color in this example. Next, we have change bubble color, and then we connect slider and spin box, so that when one changes the value, it changes the value of the other. So let's go to it. So this is slider. So when we change the value of slider, since slider has the maximum of 10, we just don't need to worry about anything of getting out of bounds. And we just set up, when we change the value of the slider will change the value of this spin box. And what about spin box? Spin box does not have value, maximum value of 10. So we check if it's less than 11 or less and equal to 10. And if it's true, we set up the value of the spin box so that when we change the value, slider would also go up or down. And there is a lot of repetition for changing the outline color. It's also the same function. Text changed, it's updating the preview. Then sliders, it's again for the sliders. Tails. And there is check out the center. So this little function just checks if it's enabled. It enables this slider. If it's not enabled, then it is disabled. Simple as that. So I think I covered all the connections. I mean, they kind of a little bit repetitive. The preview I will go later. So then we have our connection. Then we create scroll area. Scroll area is allows us to have this scroll. We set up the widget to be resizable in case user would like to change it to their needs. And what else? We should set the scroll bar to be always on, because if we have very big window and we don't need scroll bar, it will disappear. But when we just go a little bit around, when it's here but not, it causes infinite loop. So Qt recommends to, in this situation, to turn the scroll bar always on. Then create widgets, set up the layout, and set up the central widget as the scroll main layout. And to scroll main layout, load everything from here. And then that's it. We show our user interface. But when we change to from window to Docker, we will need to, I guess, Docker does not have a function of set central widget. It just, if I remember correctly, it's just set widget. So you just will delete set the word central, but it's pretty easy just to change it to like, so that it would load in Krita correctly. Now let's go to the update preview. Update preview is not a big function. The big function is the one that gets us preview. So this function get preview will get us a string of SVG markup that we then can transform into byte array and load that byte array into SVG renderer, our preview renderer. And this one we have a little bit problem. I just found out, and I should later report it to Krita. Maybe I'll post it on Krita Artists into plugin section that for some reason SVG renderer does not have a set aspect ratio mode function. But here it works. You have it's not acting weird. But when I open Krita, it does not have one set aspect ratio, so it's getting too wide than it has to be. If I'll go to the scripter, I have set up a little code to show you my problem. So we have help of SVG widget. And it should have, no, I think it should be renderer. What will happen if I put renderer? Will it work? Nope, it does not. I think it was in QT SVG renderer. Yeah, and it does not have set aspect. Nope, no setup for aspect ratio. And when I try to, so I create aspect ratio and I create a preview as a SVG widget, and I'm trying to set up an aspect ratio, and it just says that it has no attribute, but it should have, which is weird. Okay, so we've gone through update preview. And let's go quickly, or maybe I should do it in the end. Yeah, I should do it in the end. I'm sorry. So get preview. Get preview. Where is my function? Here. So landing. How do I go about landing? How do you call it in math? But how do you find the square of the square? Like, mm, like not the perimeter, but yeah, like the square of like of a shape. Uh, for the square, you need to find the square root, and that's basically how I treat the text, the number of symbols as the square, and I'm trying to find the square root. So number of symbols, and then I try to find the square root, and I found the best looking results. Look when I also multiply the result by 8.1, 1.8, I'm sorry. And now what we do, we check if center automatically is checked. If it's not checked, we set up different line length. And then we call get speech lines. This function will load up our text as plain text, and we load our average line length. So this function here basically does this thing. We tell this function how big, what's the maximum line length, right? And it looks so. Line length is maybe maybe 10. Maybe it's 10. So it looks into this word and it says it looks and it says that it's 11. And it's great new line. And then it looks speech is 6. It's not bigger than 10. So we can add another word. But with another word, it's going to be bigger than 10. So we create another line. Now it's the third one. And it's the final one. And that's how we, what basically does this function. So it goes 3 ways. First one, it uses the value that's being by default calculated by the code, or it can use value that was chosen by the user, or it can just instead split the text by the entered enters. So so this is what I've been talking about. Size, speech, lines. We have this is what's we gonna output, the list of lines. Here we're gonna have 3 lines. And this one we need for our loop to go through. And then we check, do we need a loop? If it's 0, if this one is 0, we just can split by this symbol. But if it's not, then we go for through words of this speech, and we add it to this value. Then we add size by the size of the word, and then we check. If it's not bigger, then we add what? We add space. But if it's bigger, then we create a line and we start over. And this one, I noticed some problems that for some reason text would have a lot of space at the end. Even if you, and I felt it was weird, so I made this wrong. Oh, and it's also appends the last line. No. So this is our function that gets us the list of lines. Now, we have successfully centered the text, right? But how are we gonna render it? Render needs resolution of the file that we're gonna output. And we haven't been talked about the widths and heights and how I go about it. So I'm trying to calculate. Can I use something? Yes. I'm trying to calculate the bounding box around my text, right? So when I know the width and height of the text, I can just add up the space for the bubble, for the tail, and the space between tail and end of frame, I guess, of the whole image. So for the width, I go for the biggest line. I go through the list and look for the biggest line, and later I will use it for the width. For the height, I noticed one thing. So by default, in SVG, the text with text alignment set to center, the coordinates of the text are in the bottom and the center. So why I'm talking about this. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, I'm sorry. For the height, okay, for the height, I go for the number of lines multiplied by the font size. But I noticed that if I go just for font size, I would always have a little bit extra space between top of my um, bounding box and the top of my text. And I found out that it's not really shown here, but um, the bottom is always right at the text. So that extra space felt a little bit um, confusing for my next calculations. So Qt has function for to get the height of the font without the extra space with the function called cap height. So I am trying to multiply the number of lines to the font minus this little extra space through this, through this. So, okay. I explained a little bit about the logic. Now let's go through the code. First, we get the font from our combo box. Then we set our pixel size because most of the coordinates in SVG are done through pixel measurement and not point measurement. So I assume that most users would think of this value as the point size and not pixel size because most other text-based software use font size. And I just converted to pixel size. I remember that 1 point equals 1.3 pixels. Now we have set up the pixel size. Now we have our font size and so this is how I already explained how I find the height of the text, and this is how I find the width. So width. Qt has this wonderful class Q font metrics that has a lot of functions to calculate stuff with fonts. And one of the good functions is take a font with this class, and you can use function width on the string to find out its width, and I found out it's to be the most accurate solution. Qt has other options to find the width of the text, but it didn't suit me. And also we have the tail length for here. Okay, we found out our width and height of our text. What do we do next? We have padding. Padding is so we have bubble padding, the tail padding, frame padding. So basically, bubble padding is the space between the bounding box of the text and the edge of the bubble, And then from the bubble we have the value of the size between the edge of bubble to the edge of the tail. And then we have frame padding, that is the value between the tail edge to the frame edge. So here's the frame padding, and I just put like font size. It's one letter around the bubble. Then as the tail padding we use the value from tail size. And for bubble padding we use the 1.5 of the font size. Next, we need to figure out the coordinates x and y of each line. So, we get font size from here, then we get font family from here, we get the color of the text from here, and we set up so that the text is centered in the middle. The coordinate of so that's what I was talking before. The coordinate of the text in SVG is on the bottom in the center of the line. So for x value, we need the frame padding, the tail padding, the bubble padding, and the half of the text width. And this is what I am, yes, this is frame padding, then tail padding, then bubble padding, and then the half of the text width. But for the Y, we need frame padding, tail padding, bubble padding, and then one font size. Except that little space that already been counted for. So here's frame padding, tail padding, bubble padding, and one font size. And then we just go through the loop where we put this one, and then we put this one, and then we put the last one. And that's how we created SVG markup for the text. Now goes the hard part. This one took me quite a time to figure out. I was trying to find some cool, smart solution to go about tail. How will I go about So we have this 8 right coordinates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I was trying to figure out some smart way to go clockwise around matrix or maybe I should go like this and this. But my friend told me if it's just, if it's problem not gonna scale up and you always know that you just have 8 um, members of array, you should just create an 8, a list with the size of 8, and that's it. So this is what I have done. I made 3 coordinates: x0, x half, and just x, and another 3 y0, y half, and y chest. Here is x0, which is just frame padding and tail padding. Yeah, I should put here, but I hope you will understand. I am trying to record this video for like 8th time, and there is always something come up and I have to start over, and I just wanted to finally make this video for someone who's going trying to figure out how to make plugin, or for me in the future if I'll gonna check on the plugin again, I'll forget how this plugin works so that I have a visual reminder how it works. So how I actually create bubble. I use path. Right here. You can see path. It's a broken one, but just to give you an idea. So for path, we need to set up the style for it. This one is going to be not none. It's going to be some kind of color of the inside. By default, it's going to be white. The stroke one is going to be by default the black, and you already remember that the width, the thickness by default is 3. And so for its path is just a line with coordinates x and y. We start with the letter M, and then the coordinates where it starts, and then it has and then the coordinates of the next point where should the line go, and you can use letter Q to make it look like this. Like this. But for example, this one has the point here that you cannot see, but it influences how round this edge, this corner should be. All right, so Q and Also L we are gonna use for the tail, for it to be not round but straight. All right. So how we do this? How we do this? So we create a list of coordinates, right? Of these coordinates, x and y, x and y, y and x. You get the idea. And if you remember earlier at the very top, I created a small class just so that I can hold in one variable the coordinates of an x and of an y. This one, this class. So I use it here. I use it here. And I create all the 8 variables, coordinates I'm going to be using. And now I go through a loop. I start, and by default I use the end to be the last coordinate of the the first one as the end. So I create a small loop to go through 8 coordinates, and then I check for is it round 1 or not. If it's not round, then I just add all coordinates without any letters. So it's just gonna be this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, this, without any Q's or L's. You just put the coordinates and it will make a straight line between the point A to the point B. But if it's round, and I think if it's even, no, if it's odd, okay. So where do I start? The first coordinate is the half the y. So the first coordinate is here. This is the second one, which is an odd number. And this one should have q. So in case we have round speech bubble, but we do not have the tail, it will just go through the coordinates, and it's just, we'll see if this coordinate is an odd. Yes, if it's an odd number, we'll add q to the coordinate, and we'll make bubble look round. But here's the problem. Adding tail is a nightmare. Okay, especially to the corner. For the center, it's not really that hard. You just go, you just get value of an x. You just slightly tilt it to the left and to the right, and in the center, you just add the tail length for the for this example. We would add to the y value, and x we would use this one. So in code it looks something like this. I'll find it. So this is 0. And if it's if this and if it's checked, then we get our first coordinate. Instead of this coordinate, we will use coordinate that has been moved a little bit to the left here on x value. Text width, which is just a small fraction of the text width. So we just move it a little bit to the left. Then we use L value to make straight tail. So by default, no, not by default, but the way coordinates in SVG works is this is the value of x going up, and this is the value of y going up. So you need to actually, for the tail to go up, you need actually to subtract from the value of y, of this coordinate, the tail length. And then from here, we go to here, which is this coordinate, but slightly tilted to the left or to the right, here, by text width, which is the fraction of the text. And the same goes for sides, but instead of tilting the width, the x value, we're tilting the y value, and we adding or subtracting to the x value. But how do we go about this one, or this one? I mean this one, or this one, or this one. So you don't have. So you need to, by default there's a coordinate here, but you need to put now two coordinates here and here that will point here. But you need some coordinate here so that this part would look round and not like a line. I was experimenting with that. First, I tried this. So how does quadratic Bethia works? you have three values. You look at the red ones. The function goes something like, when it moves from A to B, it tries to find on its way the center between two coordinates. So it starts, the first starts here, and basically, if we look here, the Q coordinate should be here. So the center would be, no, the coordinate between this one and this one gonna be probably here, and between this one and this one probably here, and the center of this one is gonna be the center of the round corner. And you can see it here. So this is the center of here and here. This is the center, and you can go from here to here. And first I tried to use even distribution. So it's 0%, it's 25%, it's 50%, it's 75%, and this is the 100% of this width. So I have this coordinate, and the same here goes. So I have this coordinate and I have this coordinate, right? So this is 25% and this one is 75%. And I found out the center of this two, and it's here. And I can use it as the starting point of the tail. And to make it round, I can use the 50% from here. But as you can look, as you can see, it looks kinda more like a square. So instead of using 25%, I decided to use 40% and then 60%. And it gave me, I think, the best looking results I've seen. But that means I have to calculate 1, 2, no, that means I need to calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 coordinates. So yeah, before I calculate the 40% and the 60% of an x value and of an y value. So I have 40% and 60%. And now I can find the 40% from here. And I can find the 60% from here. And I can find the 40% from here. Find this, now using these two coordinates, I can find the center. And this one will be the coordinate for the tail. So it's an even number. No, it's an odd number. So Q. First we create the Q number. So it's 3, right? 3 is here. First we need First we need the 40% coordinate from here. So in order to find the 40%, we can just subtract from this length the 60%. And that's what I'm doing here. We have this value, and now we need to find the center between the 40% and the 60%. I know. So, yeah, this is how I try to find out. The center for our Q. Yes, no, for the start of our tail. Then the L value, which is, so it's here. So it, oh my God, so many red line. So tail need to go here. So, so it's tail size plus X and plus Y. And now we need to find the center of the 60% and 40% for the end of our tail, then connect it to the bubble. So this is the end of the tail, X and Y, and that's where we connect to our bubble. Great, we've gone through how do I make round how I made tail from the corner of the bubble. Great, now you know this. And can you imagine to make it more fluid, like not just 8 fixed coordinates, but enable user to go all 60 around the bubble? I mean, if you find a solution, you can commit to the plugin. It's on GitHub. It's open source. It's Krita. Now we have, great. We have the markup for our bubble. We have the coordinates. So we have the style. We create the style field we get from here. Then we have the stroke width from here, and no, stroke width from here, I guess, and stroke, I guess it's color, and this is here. And now we, wait, what's, all right, okay, fill is the inside of the bubble, and the color of it. Oh, the outline is the stroke, and the stroke width is the thickness of the outline. All right. And then we create the value of our bubble. So we have path, and then we have coordinates, and then we have the end of coordinates. No, I'm sorry. Am I recording for an hour? Yeah, my mind is slipping. First we get style of the bubble, and then we have coordinates of the bubble. Then we create the width and the height of the document, so that the renderer knows what size of the document it will render. And then we create result. Hooray! Here's it. We add our width, our height, our bubble, and our text that we made somewhere here. And that's it. We made the bubble. So we made the bubble. We load it to here. And I found out that Krita in the version 5 added the option for vector layers to you now can create and add vector shapes using add shapes from SVG. So we have this function that's on this button that we get preview from this gigantic function, and then we just create a layer and we put some text from our text, and after we created it, we add our speech bubble, and that's it. We create a vector layer with our vector shape of a speech bubble, so that user can actually then later, like I can show you actually, like I can create new file, yes, add on page, and we have vector layer. We have a little icon that is vector. We can select it and make it bigger, and since it's vector, we can manipulate this one. We can manipulate text. We can make it whatever we want, and now you cannot see it. Where is it? Okay, this is interesting. Why it's there? Okay, whatever. But here it's in action. Crazy. So I guess that's it. Yep. Exit window, close. This one is not gonna go to the final plugin. I congratulate you to getting to the end of this video. I hope it was beneficial to you to be seeing the code more visually with explanation a little bit. It's like plugin working here on the background and like some images. Yeah, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.